Something I'd like to share that I thought was interesting was after doing this for 6 years, from 2017 until now, I recently got the idea that, oh, now I understand form. I'm going to be presenting some of my abstract wood sculptures today, and the methods, etc. So a couple of reasons for the work that I'm doing currently. I enjoy working with the natural material of wood. Um, I use a lot of red cedar, yellow cedar, Peruvian walnut. I enjoy using hand tools to carve these woods. There's a beauty and joy in that. One of the interesting points is the development of my mind. So at the beginning, I visualize the forms in 3 dimensions um, to a certain uh, to a certain degree of accuracy in space. As I practiced, um, I did notice the mental improvement, and then that made me realize, in general, how much our minds are capable of, and that we may not be aware of until we actually develop them in that direction. And that is a point that interests me greatly, in the realm of human potential. By spending the long hours sanding, um, uh, your by doing that activity, it has an effect on your life, and that is that in turn affects my overall state, um, the way that, like, the how you live, and then um, that's going to affect the development of the next form. So this is one of the first three forms I made. Um, and this is Peruvian walnut. It was made of scrap wood from a friend. So my process of development involves drawing with pencil on paper, in the form of sketches, uh, like this. When I like a form and I'm um, refining it on paper, um, the sketch becomes very, very clean. That's very important. Very clear, very clean. But I tend to finish with one view, and the front view. And so this is by working like that, from the very beginning. I think there was one sculpture that I did a clay model for, because it was at the time it was too difficult for me to visualize it, with the depth and the whole three D form without doing a model for it. But from the beginning, I've been working this way. So I've been forcing my mind to learn and develop the skill of visualizing the form in its full, uh, in the round. One point about the drawing process is that it requires a state of energy. So because I'm that's when the inspiration can come through. If I'm too tired, I find that the true inspiration, which comes from like a deep um, uh, mental kind of field of peace and truth, um, if that's not really active um, at the fore, then it's going to be a struggle trying to just use the superficial mind to to develop these forms on paper. And in the past, I've done that, pushing myself even while I was tired to keep developing forms to try to come up with one. And yes, I have found forms that I liked, that I wanted to make by doing that, but at what cost? A headache and having to take a nap and things like that. With these sculptures, because they're freestanding, they're gonna have um, there's going to be that structural aspect which I must constantly keep in mind. Also, with the wood material, there's a grain, and so there's a strong part of the wood and a weak part of the wood, depending on the orientation. So when I'm making the forms, I keep in mind those limitations, and so in that way, the character of the wood naturally comes out into the final form in that way, since I'm respecting the makeup or the internal structure of the material. So this piece is called The Unity of Motion. When I first started carving forms, I showed you the arch form, which was one of the first three, and it's a convex form. And later, I started carving into it, forming concavities. So here you have um, what seems like it could be the beginning of a concavity, but then it kind of curves in a convex way. Here, this variation in grain is quite prominent, so that adds to the aesthetics. At this point in the process, I'm judging where um, the opening is going to be, and so as you can see, it's going to be cut out behind the piece and also in this area. So that corresponds to this area, and behind it will be this part. So I've mapped out the cube or the kind of the I mapped out where I'm going to be making the cuts, taking wedges from with a handsaw. So I'm going to cut here, 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 and here to take out that portion before I maybe drill through and continue to carve out the inner area. The idea of, if you have limitations in your if you have technical limitations, and you focus on those limitations, it may seem difficult to come up with creative or new ideas. But I've come to realize that even within very austere limitations, the possibilities are near infinite.